Hey you guys, so it's Dara Michelle with Dara After Dark, and I first just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I hope you guys enjoyed today with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, and really take the time off to just be in the moment and be in the presence. So today's topic is about forgiving, and so I never understood how powerful forgiving was, but then I never understood how powerful forgiving ourselves is. And so for me, my dad, he recently passed away back in April due to cancer and then also COVID-19. And so when I first learned that my dad was being released from prison, he was incarcerated for 35 years. And so he came home almost like 3 years ago. And so when he initially first came home, I didn't know. My mom didn't know. My uncle had told me. And so, I don't know if you guys are like me. Like, I always wanted to know, like, what would it have been to be like daddy's little girl? Now, trust and believe, I do know that God is our father and he love on us and we are his children. But in the flesh, I always wonder, like, what would that look like to be like daddy's little girl? Like, I've always wanted that life. And so when my dad came home, initially I'm like, well, I'm not a little girl, but I'm his little girl because my brother passed away when I was 12. And so I'm like, well, maybe this is our time where we can rebuild our relationship. But when he first came home, now I got to be transparent and real. I was kind of scared of him. Like, I was nervous. I'm like, I know he ain't really had an encounter with a woman in 35 years. Not that he would do anything to his daughter, but still, I just had this weird thought in my mind, like, I can't be around him alone, not now, because he don't really know me as an adult. He knew me as a little girl, but I haven't saw him in over 20 years. And so when he came home, we kind of had started like just having conversations. I'll go see him, he'll come see me, and we kind of started like this Sundays thing where we'll get together on Sundays just to kind of like have conversation or kick it or chill, whatever the case may be. And so I remember this one particular time, he used to get Link. And so I used to tell him, like, can I have some, because I'm always buying and purchasing food. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I think at this moment he was dating some lady who had a daycare, whatever. And so I was in a grocery store and I think I spent like $150. And I get to the register and I swiped the Link card and it said it didn't work. So I called him. I'm like, what's going on with the Link? He like, I turned it off. I'm like, what? You turned it off? Like, how you, first of all, not tell me that you turned it off, but then turn it off and I'm right in the store? And he was like, yeah, I had ordered a new card. I'm like, why? I had the card. And he was like, cause you was hogging it and you didn't want to give it back. I say, nigga, like, how am I hogging it and you just gave it to me to go grocery shopping? And so more of that story is that I know for me, sometimes I can be very stubborn and I can hold on to things for a while. And my dad is the same way. He is super stubborn and he's prideful and he's stuck in his ways. And so I was telling my mom about the situation and she was just like, well, try to talk to him. And so I called him just to get an understanding, like, why would you do that? Like, why would you, for one, in my mind, I'm like, you owe me at least this because you ain't been here, And for two, like, how you gonna do that in the middle of me being in a grocery store? And so he put on this whole spiel, whatever. And from that one incident, we did not talk for almost 8 months. 8 months went by. The next time I saw my dad, he was downtown with a sign up begging for change. And so that crushed me right there. And it was just, and I just had to reflect to say, like, I allowed that small little thing that I don't know, maybe he needed the food. Maybe he was using that to pay his bills. I don't know, but because I was being selfish and not really only thinking about me, that I allowed that to not talk to my daddy. And so I had to forgive myself first to say, like, dang, Dara, why do you always want to be in control? Or why do you only think about yourself in certain situations? Like, what is that? I had to pray about that thing because it has come up in so many other relationships in my life. And I'm like, why is this so? And then I know for my dad, he, like I said, was a very prideful man. And his ego wouldn't allow him to call me and say, like, you know what, that was petty, let's get over it. So neither one of us talked. So I was just like the bigger person, because I'm like, man, I'm like whatever, like, let's get over this. And then even I work at a social service agency that can help people who come home from jail to kind of not reinvent themselves, but re-enter back into society. And so for a long time I beat myself up like, man, I know my daddy need my help, I can help him, like, why he don't want to contact me, why he don't want to have a relationship with me, like, why is he avoiding me, like, I'm his daughter. And that thing used to bother me and eat me up inside. And God said, release it. It's not in your control. Like, you can't control it. All you can do is what you can do. And you tried, you connected him, you provided him, and that's it. And I'm like, you know what, Lord, I forgive my daddy, because he was young when he went to jail. He met my mom. My mom met him in jail. They got married in jail. I was made in jail. And so he coming into a space that's unfamiliar to him. He don't know nothing about nothing that's going on in 2020. I mean, what was that, like 2018? This man been in jail 35 years. It wasn't no phones. It wasn't no internet. It wasn't no Wi-Fi. None of this was happening. And so I just started to have to look at things different. That's why that capture and correct model that my mentor told me about is so important. It's like, you gotta look at things differently and see it from his lens. And I'm like, you right. I'm like, wow. And I had to forgive him for not being in my life, and forgive him for not wanting to build a relationship with me. And it wasn't because maybe he didn't want to do that, but he didn't know how. It's like, how do I come out and seek a relationship with my daughter and I ain't been in her life? So all of these different things, it's like I had to forgive him for that. And then I had to allow him to do it when he was ready. I can't force that. I can't make that happen. He got to do it when he is ready. And unfortunately, he passed before we can really build and bond that relationship with each other. But I'm grateful that we had important moments in our life where we can talk through things, and we hashed out a lot of different conversations that was needed. And I think the biggest thing that I was most grateful for is that when he got hospitalized, he went in because he kept missing chemo and radiation. The cancer had spread it throughout his body. And so he went in to get treatment and found out he had COVID. When they found out he had COVID, they cut his leg off, and then he had a trachea. So he lost the power to speak. And so I know it was so much that he wanted to say. I know it was so much that he wanted us to do. But in that moment, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about him. It was about him really surrendering and asking God for forgiveness, and to be at peace with that. He was ready, because he told my uncle, he was like, I'm saved, I talked to God, and I'm just ready to be at peace. Mind you, he's been in a box for 35 years of his life. My daddy is only 69. So 35 years of that, he was in a box. Then he came home to a world that's unknown, to a daughter that's unfamiliar. And it was so many things happening. And he probably didn't know how to process none of this at all. And then cancer hit his body. And when it first happened, I felt so bad, because I'm like, I'm going to war for my mama, and I'm this, and this for my mom. But I wasn't that for my daddy. And that used to beat me up inside too, because it's like, why I can't be that for him? And again, it wasn't that I didn't want to. I didn't know how. I just didn't know how to do it, because we was still growing in that area. And I just had to, again, release all of that, because it will eat you up, and it will make you feel less than, or it will make you have these different type of feelings inside you, like you didn't do what you should have did, but I did the best that I could given the situation. And so forgiveness is so powerful, because had I not forgave my dad, that would have still been holding me. It would have still made me feel ill inside, and I wouldn't be at peace with him not being physically in my life right now. So I had to first forgive me for thinking of myself, being selfish, and then forgive him because he just didn't know. And unfortunately, our time got cut short, and it's still fresh. Like, I still have moments where I just look like, dang, like, if I only could have did this, you know, things probably would have been totally different. But when God calls you home, he calls you home, and it's nothing that I could do about it. And so now I just reflect on those important moments that we share with each other, and times where I feel like, dang, Daryl, you coulda. I just pray, because it's fresh. This all just happened still in this year, and I'll be on here lying talking about, girl, I'm over it, I got through it. No, I'm still in the midst of this thing. Like, I'm still in the middle of this. I got over the part of the forgiveness. I got through the part of forgiving myself. Now it's the healing around it. Now it's the healing within it, you know? So whoever pissed you off, irritated you, made you mad, did something, and you feel like you can't forgive them, it's a hold on you, whether you know it or not. And all I can do is act. All I can say is that maybe you need to write about it. Maybe you can't tell them, or you can't talk to them, but it's power in that pen. You can write it out. You can write a forgiveness letter to them, and you can mail it, or you can burn it. And burning just shows like you got it out, you wrote it, you said it, and you burning it as a way to say you're releasing it, so that it's not holding you down no more. It's not making you feel some type of way. Those are just different things that you can do. And that's why, like, creating Daryl After Dark was like really important to me, because these are things that I think about when I'll just be sitting in my bed after dark. I know I'll be coming over here looking all cute and lipstick and all of that, but in the midst of this is times where I'm just like sitting in the house from a long day, or I was on a call, and I just sit here and I just pray, and I just say, okay, God, what you want me to talk about today? Download in me what it is that you need me to put out there for the people. And he gives it to me. It can happen early in the day. Sometimes I record early because at that moment it's like, this is what is needed to say. But it's really just sharing all of these moments in my life that I bottle in, because I felt like what I'm saying didn't matter, or I felt like what I'm saying wasn't important, because again, I allowed people who I hadn't forgave tell me that I wasn't worth enough, or my voice didn't matter, to have that hold on me, which kept me muted. And it's like, no, God give us a spirit of confidence, of boldness. I'm a trailblazer, and so why not use my God-given authority and speak and just talk and express and share? So I had to forgive those. Even though I don't communicate with them people, I wrote a letter, and I forgave myself for dimming my light. I forgave myself for not thinking that I was capable. And so forgiveness works both ways. It's forgiving them, but then forgiving you at the same time. To really know, like, whoo, child. And it's a struggle. It don't happen overnight. I know sometimes it takes years to really master the art of forgiveness. It takes books. I read a few books on it about forgiveness. So if it's you, or you in that situation, I just say, like, just get still and ask for wisdom and clarity about it. Because what you don't want to happen is for you not to live out your true potential because of something that somebody may have said, and you hold grudges, and every time you see them your skin crawl and you be like, ugh, and they got a hold on you, clearly. Because if you forgave them and you at peace, you will speak at the end of the day. I remember my best friend slept with my boyfriend years ago, and for a while that girl, I couldn't forgive her. And then the one day I did, I had the most peace of my life. And when I see her, no, we not friends, but hey, how you doing, and keep it moving. And she may feel a certain type of way, but I'm at peace. When I was able to forgive myself, a lot of things became peaceful in my life. When I was able to forgive my dad, it opened me up to just have real conversations with him, and not always feel like you should have did this or you couldn't. No, that wasn't his circumstance. He didn't, that wasn't it. And so meet people where they are, and I had to meet him where he was. And so I just encourage anybody who maybe, in your life where somebody did something and you like, I just can't. You can, and you will, in time and in your timing.